Dust motes danced in the shaft of golden light that pierced through the arrow slit. Captain Ataraxia squinted, the grit of Terran soil clinging stubbornly to his lashes. Even within the hallowed halls of the Imperial Palace, the ever-present grime of humanity found a way in. He shifted, his black armor groaning in protest against the long vigil. Another holy Terran sunrise. As a Lucifer Black, I continue to guard the heart of the Imperium every day. "Captain," said Sergeant Varron, his second-in-command's gravelly voice. "Anything stirring down there, sir?" Ataraxia cast a glance down at the sprawling, massive cityscape of the throne world, visible beyond the crenellations. "Usual morning ecclesiarch symphony, Sergeant. Some vendors are hawking their wares, while pilgrims are chanting hymns. Arbites kept the lines flowing, observing the blessed ignorance of the masses in their daily activities." He straightened, etching lines into his face from years of training. "Though there..." He trailed off, a flicker of unease snaking through him. A lone figure stood at the base of the palace's southeast outer wall, cloaked in a shimmering sea green that seemed to absorb the light rather than reflect it. Ataraxia couldn't make out details, but the way the figure stood, an aura of quiet confidence radiating from him, was unsettling. "See anything, Captain, sir?" Varron's voice snapped Ataraxia out of his musings. "There's an unidentified figure at the base of the wall, Sergeant. Unmarked, unfamiliar, strange." Varron grunted. "Intriguing. He could be a lost pilgrim, a foolhardy scavenger." Ataraxia shook his head. "No. His stance reveals a purpose, a stillness that suggests training, experience, and confidence. We can't dismiss it." "Scouts!" he barked, and two Lucifer Blacks materialized from the shadows behind them. "Corporal Duris, scout the figure. Sergeant Varron, you and Corporal Avitus prepare for recon and, if necessary, combat. If it's a threat, we neutralize it right now." "All southeast outer wall posted regiment, wake up and drop the recaf, ready your weapons, and be on alert, as there may be an intruder at the front," the captain said over his Vox radio. Duris, a young recruit with only a couple of years of service, with eyes that burned with zeal, saluted while doing the Aquila and Gravchut, dropped down the wall with a practiced ease. "Alright boys, nice and easy. We're just doing recon, simple stuff, eyes peeled." Duris and Avitus heard the captain's announcement on the Vox channel. Minutes stretched into an agonizing eternity. Ataraxia felt the moment pressing in, interrupted only by the distant chanting of pilgrims that roamed outside of the palace. "Captain," Duris's voice crackled in his earpiece. "Figure identified. Male, unmarked flak armor, unfamiliar heraldry." Heraldry. Not a pilgrim then. A cold dread settled in Ataraxia's gut. Flak armor meant soldier. Unfamiliar heraldry meant trouble. "Is there any insignia you can recognize?" Ataraxia pressed, his voice tight. "Static." Then came a tense whisper. "Some kind of multi-headed serpent, sir." Ataraxia's blood ran cold. Alpha Legion operatives, traitors. How could they be here, at the core of the Imperium? Entering the system would have destroyed them. However, the armor's flickering green color caught his attention. "Duris, please fall back immediately. Up the wall, now!" He roared into the communicator. "To arms, high alert, outer wall. We might have a full-blown incursion on our hands." The moment the words left his mouth, the figure at the base of the wall moved with unnatural speed. Green lightning arced from his hands, searing the wall beside Duris as it went back up. The young Lucifer Black screamed, making a high-pitched sound that cut through the morning air like a blade. Fury surged through Ataraxia, momentarily blinding him to the tactical disadvantage. He unsheathed his power sword, the crackling energy serving as a beacon against the encroaching dawn. "An intruder is coming up the wall! Open fire!" Lasfire emerged from the battlements, carving jagged lines of glowing red across the courtyard. The intruder, for there was no mistaking his allegiance now, weaved through the hail of fire with an inhuman grace. He raised a clawed hand, and a blinding flash erupted in the midst of the Lucifer Blacks. Screams turned to choked gasps as several guards crumpled, thinking they were not dead but heavily injured and out of the fight. He could have killed us all, right then and there if he wanted to, but he didn't, Ataraxia thought, confused for a second. Then the captain charged, his boots thundering on the ancient stone. As the intruder met him head-on, the air crackled with ozone. The clash between the power weapon and the traitor's bare hands echoed through the courtyard, the stench of molten flak armor filling his nostrils. Ataraxia was a veteran of countless skirmishes, whether outside of the wall or on the palace itself, honed to a razor's edge through years of service and training. But this foe was different. He fought with measured aggression and calculated moves that hinted at a deeper strategy. Every parry and thrust seemed designed to wear Ataraxia down and probe his defenses. The battle began with a deadly dance in the rising sun's indifferent gaze. Ataraxia felt his strength wane, sweat stinging his eyes through the visor. He gambled, making a vicious swipe aimed at the intruder's exposed leg. The traitor sidestepped effortlessly, the green flak armor shimmering as it absorbed the blow in an unnatural way. It was like he was playing a game, he thought, but in that brief moment, Ataraxia saw his opening. The traitor, momentarily caught off guard, left his upper torso exposed. With a desperate surge of strength, he lunged, aiming a killing blow at the heart of the traitor. The power sword met resistance, a sickening crunch of metal against something, not flak armor. He pulled back, reeling from the impact. Where a chest armor piece should have been, there was a shimmering field, distorting the light around the intruder. The field flickered and died, revealing a figure clad not in flak armor, but now in dark green combat fatigues with a Hydra symbol emblazoned on the chest. He was a normal-sized human, albeit one with eyes that gleamed with an unnatural intelligence. Panic threatened to consume Ataraxia. This was beyond anything he'd ever encountered, but years of training kicked in. He raised his power saw, pointing at the unorthodox warrior. "Who are you and why have you come here?" Ataraxia demanded, his voice hoarse. The Alpha Legion operative, or whatever he was, remained silent for a moment, his eyes scanning Ataraxia with an unnerving intensity. Then a smirk played on his lips. "Greetings, Captain Ataraxia, 27 years of age, whose parents died in a cave in Hiv Aeolia," he said, his voice surprisingly youthful. "Consider this a courtesy call, a warning, if you will." "What did you just say? A warning?" Ataraxia bristled. "You attacked the Imperial Palace. You could kill us all here, but you will be destroyed, I assure you. That's scum." "A misunderstanding, Captain. We merely wish to establish a dialogue. With the Emperor, if possible." The statement was so audacious that it left Ataraxia speechless. The Emperor wouldn't grant an audience to a rogue Alpha Legion agent. He wouldn't even grant him the dignity of a response. "You are delusional," Ataraxia finally managed. "The Emperor has no time for traitor trash." "Perhaps," the Alpha Legionnaire conceded, his smirk fading. "But the fate of the Imperium may very well depend on his willingness to reconsider certain alliances." He paused, letting the weight of his words hang heavy in the air. Ataraxia gripped his power sword tightly, his mind racing. Alliances? With the Alpha Legion? It was treasonous even to entertain the thought. "We have information, Captain," the Alpha Legionnaire continued. "Information is vital to the Imperium's survival. This information pertains to a new threat that is emerging from beyond the veil." His words held a chilling truth. Whispers of a new enemy, a lurking horror from the warp, had reached even the ears of the Lucifer Blacks. It was a terrible prospect, so much so that even the thought of an alliance with the Alpha Legion seemed less preposterous. "What information?" Ataraxia found himself asking with a hoarse voice. The operative smiled again, like a predator savoring its prey. "That, Captain, is a conversation best held with someone of greater authority." Before Ataraxia could react, the traitor raised his hand once more. This time, a swirling vortex of emerald light opened behind him. He stepped back into the strange energy with a final, chilling glance at Ataraxia, leaving her alone amidst the carnage. The battlements fell silent, the only sound being the labored breathing of the remaining Lucifer Blacks. Ataraxia lowered his sword, the weight of the encounter pressing down on him. He knew he had a difficult decision to make. The Alpha Legion's offer was a poisoned chalice, but ignoring a potential threat to the Imperium was unthinkable. He looked up at the rising sun, bathing the Imperial Palace in a golden light. A heavy sigh escaped his lips. This was no longer a matter for the Lucifer Blacks captain, it was a matter for the Imperium's highest echelons. He had a report to make, one that would shake the very foundations of the throne world. Surgeon, transport the injured to the infirmary, immediately man the walls. We have cancelled all permits. Sergeant Varron responded, yes sir, on the way. As Ataraxia carried the wounded and replacements ran from the barracks to their posts. After taking care of his troops, Ataraxia, in a mechanical manner, tried to understand what had just happened. He spoke on his Vox radio. Central Command, do you copy? Affirmative, Captain. Send it. Sir, we just engaged an intruder on the southeast outer wall. No casualties, but an intelligence report could be available, he said. Put it on a memo on your data slate at the end of your shift, Captain. The only thing I can see that has been reported on your side is that some kind of massive altercation happened on the pilgrim route and your radio was cut off for a few minutes. The Arbites are on it. Keep watch, over and out, Central Command instructed. Yes, sir, Ataraxia said. So nobody else knows what happened here? He thought as his skin got cold.